Hey guys, welcome back to the Masterclass series, class number 2. So last time we spoke a little bit about what marketing is about, how to be a better marketer, how to focus more on being human-centric and not competitor-centric, focus more on them and not you and your product. And today, we ended last masterclass with step number 1, which was destination planning. So today we're going to talk about step number 2, which is how do you segment and how do you target? So what kind of targeting tools that you need to use in order to be a better marketer, in order to be more human-centric. So stick around. All right, let's get into targeting. My favorite part. If you're a marketer, this has to be your favorite part. It has to be. If you don't love digging into human psychology, if you don't love digging into human behavior, I don't know how you can be a marketer. I don't understand it. A marketer's passion has to be on that insight mining and pain points and tension points. And if you don't love that part, I don't know how you can be a marketer. It gets very complex. This is my favorite. My favorite part is not just because I know who I'm talking to as a human being with a full life, but my favorite part is that I can anticipate. I know them better than they know themselves. The ability to anticipate customer behavior based on a deep knowledge about them lies at the heart of skillful marketing. Gerald Zaltman, Harvard Business School. One of my favorite quotes. We actually had this quote on a plaque on our office door before. So every time we would enter the door, we would see that. And that is the key elements. You need to know your users, your consumers, your target group better than they know themselves. How do you do that? How do we do that? How do we segment? How do you target? How is this done? Well, number 1, you have to understand that you're talking to a human being. And marketers, we tend to forget that, especially when we start to scale. If you're the first 1,000 consumers you have, it's easier to look at them as humans. When 1,000 becomes 10,000, 100,000, 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million, then they start blurring together and basically they just become statistics on a piece of paper. There's a lot of industries that still look at us like statistics. For example, telecom industry, airline industry. For them, we're just numbers on a piece of paper. They could care less who we are as human beings. It's an operational business. They really don't care about you. They really don't care about your lost luggage or the call got dropped in the middle of your Zoom for a telco. They really honestly do not give a shit. You're just a number on a piece of paper. But for all of the other awesome industries that are actually human-centric or can be human-centric, this is how you need to run your segmentation model. Number 1, look at them as human beings. So when I say that, what do I mean? Here's a good example. When we're looking at our usage data. So I'm in a tech firm, right? So I'm looking at usage data and I see that people are using our product for this. Okay, but that means nothing to me. Nothing. So the key is why. The reason why people are doing what they're doing is 1,000 times more important than what they're doing. So if you're only asking the question, what are they using our product for? What are they doing with it? What is the use case? If these are the questions you are asking, you're asking the wrong questions. A marketer's question should always be in the why. Why? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? It's the why that gives you the human element. To do that, you need to look at them with people with full lives. So let's say you're a company that's selling some sort of software service. Ultimately, you're seeing them only through the prisma of them using your product. Okay? So it's a very limited window into their life. But people, what's most important for you? I can tell you what's most important for me. My family is very important to me. Priority number 1. My career is important for me, right? My friends are important for me. These things are so much more important than what kind of software I use when I log on in the morning. So much more. So much more. And it's probably the same for the majority of you watching or everybody that's watching. There are people with full lives. I have hobbies. I like to play basketball. Playing basketball is much more important for me than what software I use in the morning because I'm passionate about it. I'm a human being. I have a full life. So if I have all of these things that are so much more important, and you have to understand that you are a very, very, very small part of that person's overall life. a very, very small part. So you have to be humble enough to understand that although you might know 100% how they're using your product or service, you might know their age, where they live, what gender they are, how much income they have. Although you know all of that information, you have no idea who these people are as human beings. So that's step number one, accept that you don't know. Step number two is figure out how to know. Try to better understand these people as humans. So usually you would have data that's geographic and demographic, right? Age, gender, life cycle, where they live, some geographic information, density, and etc. So these are like the main points that you probably have. Or if you don't, you can probably get it very, very quickly and easily. But again, that's not good enough. What you really need to understand is the psychographics. So what is their lifestyle? What is their motivation? What is their personality? And most importantly, you need to understand their behavior. So where do they shop? What kind of hobbies do they have? What are they passionate about? And ultimately, you end up with what is their pain point? What is a tension point? What is something in their life that they would like to get rid of? A little problem that they have, a little tension that they have, a little pain point that they have that they're trying to get rid of, whether in their personal life, in their professional life, but part of their life. And once you understand that, you can start making some money. So usually you want a broader perspective as them as human beings. Segmentation models, there's a whole bunch of them. So pick whichever one you'd like, but just make sure that when you're talking with your team, within your team, you're not just talking about them as how they're using your product, but what are you doing in their overall life? How are you helping them be a better human? How are you helping them be a better person? Okay? And dig deeper into those insights. So once you understand them as human beings, how do you target? How do you decide which of these people should be your target group? Which of them are more aspirational to the rest of the users so you can target them and make sure you get everybody else to follow? Well, this is what we call the bell cow strategy. It's called the bell cow strategy. So check out this cow. This cow is a bell cow. So we call it a bell cow because back in the olden days, the villagers would take their cows out, into the mountains to graze. We don't really do that much anymore. The majority of cows are now, fed standing still. But, back in the olden days, they actually had to physically take, 50, 60 cows out into the mountains so they can graze on grass. Now, it's one person, one villager versus 60 cows. So how does he manage? How does he control? Well, he controls by using what's called a bell cow. So what he's doing at that point is he has a bell in his hand, a bell. And he can't have 60 bells because, that's too expensive. So he has one bell in his hand and he's looking at, all these 50, 60 different cows. He's looking around trying to figure out which cow is the cow that all of the other cows will follow, which is sort of the alpha cow or the influencer cow. And then he's putting the bell on that cow. That's why it's called a bell cow. I don't know about you guys, but if I were a cow, I would follow this guy. This guy looks like a cow that knows what he's doing. So from that perspective, you're kind of doing the same thing. You're the villager and you're trying to figure out of all of the different types of people, all of the different types of human beings that are using your product, that can use your product or potential to use your product. Out of all of them, which one's going to be the bell cow? Which one is the one that when you build your entire marketing strategy on, your communication platform, your brand strategy, so all of the content that you're going to be generating from that point forth is targeted to a narrow point, to one person, one human, but you know that content that you're generating will be relevant to more people than just that bell cow, because that bell cow has influencing power. They're opinion leaders, right? They're the tip ship where all of the other ships are coming in the wake. And you want to make sure you use a bell cow strategy. A bell cow strategy is awesome, not only because you get to target narrow, which is great for anybody who's creating content. I mean, you can ask your content creators right now, either agencies or in-house, what is the biggest problem is they have no idea who they're creating content for. If you can narrow that down, then it becomes easier. A great creative director from Ogilvy once told me that, give me the freedom of a tight brief. The tighter the narrower you can hit a pinpoint, the easier it is for creative people to generate content. It kind of laser focuses them on one narrow point and allows them to be much more vertical rather than just horizontal and quasi, guessing. So from that perspective, there's a second key element that bell cow is relevant for, is because not only can you narrow your content to one specific point, but at the same time, you know that because they're the bell cow, because they're opinion leaders, your revenue is going to be larger than just that one segment. So your sales will technically come from a lot of the other ones, but you're using your bell cow to drive it. Here's a great example of how that works in real life. Let's take Fanta. So Fanta is Coca-Cola's orange drink, right? So Fanta in the world in general, these orangey drinks, they're drunk by teenagers. The majority, about 50-something% of Fanta around the world is drunk by, 13, 14-year-olds, teenagers. When you get to 28, 30, you kind of tend to stay away from those, grape soda-y types of drinks, and you kind of go more towards either Sprite if you're a little bit more sporty, or you go towards Coke. But Fanta is like the true recruiter, right? Because it has different flavors and different combinations. So it's a 14-year-old target. So here's what's really cool about 14, 15-year-old teenagers, right? So there's an insight, there's a pain point that teenagers have that is across different cultures. So no matter if you're a 14-year-old in Japan, a 14-year-old in the US, a 14-year-old in France, a 14-year-old in South Africa, you have the same exact insight. And that insight is being 14 sucks. Being 14 sucks. I remember when I was 14, it sucks. You have pimples, your body's growing, you're awkward, you can't really talk to the opposite sex. Just weird. It's like a really weird time. The hormones are all over the place. It's a really horrible experience to go through. Being 14 sucks. And being 14 sucks no matter where the hell you are in the world. So all 14-year-olds in the world want to be 18-year-olds. Every single 14-year-old on earth wants to be 18-year-old. So 18-year-olds are the bell cow for 14-year-olds, okay? Although 14-year-olds are drinking more than 50% of the volume of Fanta in the world, 18-year-olds are still the target group. Make sense? So you don't target where the volume is, you target where the volume wants to be. And this is extremely, extremely crucial. Every single communication that you do, every single targeting that you do, you always run it on the basis of aspiration. People don't want to see on TV, on YouTube, on advertising, people that are exactly like them. Nobody wants to see themselves on TV, like a well-rounded normal person with certain problems and issues, and nobody wants to see that. What you're watching is something that you want to be, something that's aspirational. That's why sports marketing works awesome. Awesome. Because you want to be that person. You want to be Michael Jordan. You want to be Tom Brady. That's how it works. So you have to take that aspiration in mind. And when you do that, you move into the bell cow strategy. You target the 18-year-olds, and the 14-year-olds drink a ton of Fanta. So that's how the bell cow strategy works. Make sure that you're using it. If you made it this far, guys, please help us out. Drop a subscription down below. Video 3 and video 4 is definitely on its way. But once again, please help us out. Hit that sub button. So moving on, we got the bell cow strategy idea set. Now we're trying to understand who they are. And this is another crucial aspect. So they asked Wayne Gretzky. You guys know Wayne Gretzky, right? The greatest hockey player of all time, like the Michael Jordan of hockey. They asked him, why are you the greatest player in the history of hockey? And he answered, other players go to where the puck is. I go to where the puck is going to be. And this is that anticipation element, which I told you about all the way in the beginning of the video. If you know your target group, if you know your human being as humans with full lives, how they react with their friends, how they are with their family, what their career looks like, who they are as actual human beings, you can anticipate what they will do in the future. You can anticipate their behavior, which then will allow you to be one step ahead of the competition, one step ahead of your human, and actually hit being more aspirational, knowing what to show them to make them believe, make them want to be more like that. And that again will drive a shit ton of sales. That's it for the video today, guys. Next week, we're going to be talking about branding and brand strategy, and then we'll move on into communication. So stick around.